You could be like, Gen Z doesn't work hard, blah, blah, blah. But every single Gen Z person that I know has a full-time job, has a part-time job, has a TikTok that they're trying to make pop off. Every Gen Z person I know has like one full-time job and then like 6 half jobs. So you can't say that we're not working hard, because it's like, you don't see it because what you see is the 1 40-hour job, but you don't see all of the side hustles that every Gen Z person has to do in order to get a fraction of what you had.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Emergency and welcome back to my channel. Today we are back and we're talking about something kind of serious and also kind of sinister. Yes, something sinister is definitely in the air right now. And while yes, it can definitely be a multitude of things in this landscape of the political and economic state of the world right now.
I look and I go around sometimes and I hang out with other people that are my age and they're just kind of just selfie. I'm just like, dude, like, oh my God, like, can we talk about like the political and economic state of the world right now?
What I'm specifically referring to is the sudden shift of how the good old 9 to 5 that Dolly Parton was singing on about, you know, the 40-hour-a-week full-time employment with benefits, is increasingly becoming a 9 to 6 or 8 to 5 or more.
When did we normalize the 9 to 6 work week? And who is to blame for that? Because growing up, it was 9 to 5. Now all of a sudden I'm an adult and it's 9 to 6.
This idea initially came to mind because a lot of my friends, both in the entertainment industry and in other industries, whether full-time or freelance, have begun to notice that they are no longer working the typical 9 to 5, especially at entry level with demanding hours, late nights, or extremely early emails or call times. And that got me wondering, is the 50-hour work week or 60, 70, or even 80-hour work week becoming the new normal? And to find this out, I decided to do a little something different, be on my little Nancy Drew, and turn the mic over to you. That's right, we're going to be hearing from you all, ranging from various industries, to get to the bottom of this. So to start this conversation off, let's begin with the state of work for everyone. And I think this period of time is especially interesting because whether you have a job or not right now, I think it's clear to see that the state of the workforce is currently bad and is only getting worser. And this isn't just for Gen Z either. People across the board, across generations, are working longer hours, and it's being felt at all levels. According to an article from CFO.com, the average work week now weighs in at 46.6 hours, according to a new survey of more than 10,000 Microsoft Office users by Reclaim AI, a Dropbox-owned provider of workforce productivity tools. And that same article goes on to note that just 3 years ago, that number was at 45.8 hours, notably above the 40-hour-a-week moniker, which just goes to show that while these numbers may not seem like a far departure from the average 40 hours a week, things are quickly increasing.
Well, I guess because the school year hasn't started quite yet, this year, maybe there isn't like a estimate, but like for past years, like, is it generally like the 40? You go above, below?
I'll reference like from work that I recently did like last year. It's 40, but it usually goes above. I try to get out on time, but I have a big list of stuff to do. Like at my program, we have a list of things for opening and closing. And opening, I can get most of it done, but closing, if a kid has a day and they decide to dump a specific bucket of art supplies everywhere, who has to clean that up? Me. Because not always that kid will pick it up, which is understandable. But that takes extra time if my lead teacher has like tasks for me to do and I have to put them throughout the week. We have half days on Wednesday, so I try to get those tasks done, but that doesn't always work out.
Only 30.9% of employees reported working 40 hours or fewer per week, and more than 1 in 10 said they worked more than 60 weekly hours. And these aren't just random stats I'm pulling out of nowhere. From chats with friends, interviews with y'all, we're seeing that the 40-hour work week is now becoming the minimum. Meaning on paper you may be working 40 hours a week, but oftentimes to follow expectations and to remain in good standing at your place of work, people seem to be working or at least are staying in office longer. And okay, sorry, I have to do my once in every other video mention of the pandemic. here because shockingly, it has impacted more than we initially thought and reshaped the trajectory of all of our lives. But one thing that I heard that really resonated with a lot of people was that lockdown really showed them that their jobs could be done hybrid or completely remote. No longer having to factor in commute times, no need to twiddle your thumbs in office every day until 5. You can get your work done, then continue drinking your Dalgona latte, learning your super lonely dance, or your Chloe Ting ab workout. What a time, I know. But all this to say is that people really started to see their work as just that, work, not their entire lives. And also learned that a lot of the work that they did have to do was busy work, just to keep them in office for 8 hours a day. And I think we saw in 2021 and 2022, those things still sort of linger around in the workspace. But then very quickly it was all snatched back with expeditious returns to in-person, in-office work. And I don't want to say this is all done for nefarious reasons because, things like team building, collaboration, blase, whatever you want to call it, are real things and are allegedly easier to do in person than online. But I think a large reason why many people find this push to go back in office really unnecessary is, for one, we just all saw how it could work without it. And two, because work from home allows people to not have to worry about those commute times and also don't have to worry about staying in the office just for the sake of looking busy. If your productivity levels remain the same or at least similar, why would you want to be in the office from the proposed 9 to 5? And fast forward to now where the 9 to 6 or 8 to 5 are being more normalized, I think we've begun to overcorrect just a little bit. Another thing that I've started to see people point out is that the 9 to 6 or 8 to 5 work hours be normalized is due to lunch no longer being built in because it's not paid. So yes, you do work for 8 hours, but you're also technically at work for longer, unless you're lucky enough to live a walkable distance from your job. But this can also be a falsity as well. Most workplaces don't have the strictest sense of boundaries when it comes to work expectations. And depending on your work culture, a lot of these lunches can and will be allocated as working lunches. And another thing, and almost the bigger thing out of all of this, to add to the disillusionment of people, is that regardless of how many hours a week you're working, it still seemingly is not enough to be able to afford the basic things, or really anything in today's society. It's no secret that the cost of living has skyrocketed over the past few years, with a little coffee or pastry running you at least a good $15. But I mean, you might as well get yourself a little sweet treat because it's not like the thought of buying or owning a house with the money you're making is seemingly a reality. Even though just a few years ago, and I'm using just a few years ago very loosely, a pretty normal job was enough to buy you a house and support a whole family, which now seems crazy. And all of this combined really does start to weigh on people's mental health. And mental health is something that is really important to take care of, especially in these times. Because in today's age, if we don't take care of our mental health, we can start going down some very dangerous rabbit holes. And speaking of rabbit holes, we've all gone down a good internet rabbit hole, right? Like looking up your health symptoms on WebMD, searching for that one niche Reddit post about your exact relationship problem. You get the picture. But have you ever felt stuck in that rabbit hole and fear starts to take over? Like maybe you're reading about terminal illness for hours, and now you can't shake the thought that you might be dying. Or like you can't stop watching breakup TikToks because even though your relationship is perfectly fine, or even if you don't have a relationship, you're spiraling about the possibility of potentially being in the wrong one. A lot of people are surprised to learn that those experiences can be signs of OCD. But it's true, the stereotypes of OCD are usually completely wrong. Real OCD attacks whatever matters most to you with intrusive thoughts. It can make you doubt your relationships, fear for your health, and second guess every decision. Then it drives you to do certain things to try and make the distress go away or feel more certain, like constantly seeking reassurance or avoiding the thing that you've been worried about. But instead of providing relief, these behaviors only fuel OCD. Left untreated, OCD is one of the most debilitating mental health conditions. But the good news is it responds incredibly well to the right therapy. Not just any therapy though. OCD needs a type of therapy called ERP, or exposure and response prevention. And that is where NoCD comes in. NoCD is the world's leading provider in OCD treatment, with licensed therapists that specialize in treating OCD with ERP therapy. NoCD offers live, face-to-face virtual sessions, and they're covered by insurance for over 155 million Americans. They also provide support between sessions so you're never navigating your OCD on your own. And if any of this sounds familiar, don't wait. Visit nocd.com and book a free call with their team to get connected to someone who can help. That's nocd.com. Thanks so much, NoCD, for sponsoring this video. Let's get back into it. But getting back into the state of work right now, if you ever want to imagine getting out of the rat race, honestly, good luck, because the job market right now for anyone looking for something new or just a job in general are bad and aren't getting any better. Because this comes as last month's job report has announced that jobs have not only slowed down, but unemployment has began to rose. Now let's talk about the state of work specifically for Gen Z.
I'm sorry, what the do you mean? The fact that I got off work at 5 o'clock, takes an hour for me to get home, I had an hour-long commute today. It's 6 o'clock, and in order to meet my 6 a.m. wake up call, I gotta go to bed in 4 hours. Oh my God. Having 3 to 4 hours to spend on yourself, cleaning, cooking, prepping, the gym, maybe, a Pilates class, maybe go painting a little bit, a hobby. It's my first day, like officially in office in corporate America, and I'm already like, oh my God. Sincerely, a girl who's been in the service industry and waited tables for the past 5 years. Oh my God, what do you mean?
And as this TikTok is saying, this is only 4 hours for yourself. Now imagine that if you have children. Right. So I don't want to hear any of y'all question the birth rate decline. But yeah, put simply, the job market sucks right now. We've made a couple of videos on this channel talking about the subject, such as the Gen Z stare video or the Gen Z recession video. But I fear this is not something that's going away anytime soon, and is arguably only getting worse. Talking to other Gen Zers, it seems that there are 3 general categories here. 1, people that are straight up unemployed, likely frantically applying for jobs and have a extensive Excel sheet going of all the places that they're applying. 2, fully employed but miserable, or at least looking to improve their working conditions for their next position or their current position, but generally feeling this sense of guilt for even talking about it because, you know, the job market is so tough right now. Lucky to have a job, so why complain about it? Or 3, the gig/part-time worker, who generally has the most insane and inconsistent schedule.
2025 Gen Zs are the new 2008 millennials, and if you don't believe me, I have the stats to prove it. According to Business Insider, entry-level postings are down 15%, while applications per job are up 30%. The bottom rung of the career ladder has completely been wiped out. And why? It's because AI is taking all these jobs. According to Goldman Sachs, generative AI could automate up to 25% of all work globally, wiping out many junior roles that grad used to train in. Even if you land a job, you're probably underemployed because according to St. Louis Fed, 52% of all Gen Z graduates are underemployed in their first job, meaning more than half of them are working jobs that don't even require their degree. Or if you're not underemployed, you're forced into the gig economy. According to Business Insider again, Gen Z is 58% more likely than millennials at the same age to take gig or freelance work because traditional careers aren't hiring. Experts warn, this is shaping up to be a job crisis for Gen Z, one that rivals and may even surpass what millennials faced in 2008.
And this dynamic has created an environment where people that currently do have full-time jobs are clinging to those jobs for dear life and are trying so hard to meet and exceed expectations without exactly ever really knowing what those expectations are. And because of how rocky the job market is and the considerable amount and frequency of layoffs, I feel like most of my full-time employment friends are feeling like they're walking on eggshells, taking up more responsibility than needed or is in their job description because there are less people for the same amount of work, meaning that they have to take on all the workloads for the people that were laid off around them without having a positive change in compensation for that increase in work. But hey, you're lucky you're still there and you're not fired and you have a job and you have employment. So again, you can't complain. And I get why these friends are nervous.
Expectations have been set, but do I understand them?
Right. Like, are these expectations set on you or are these like suggestions?
Exactly. So I'm just like, again, trying to like find that balance of like, what do you want from me, what I should be doing, and what more, like, if I do it, will be like moving me forward and all that.
One commonality between the gig/part-time workers and the full-time Gen Z employees, regardless of where you are, is the general lack of time to do anything outside of your job. You see how the tables have turned from like 2020 when like we were exploring what life looked like outside of work and understanding like, wow, work isn't supposed to be all of your life, to the complete 180 that we're at now, where work is consuming pretty much all of our lives. Which again, I do have to hop on my high horse and say, I do not want to hear any Gen Z is lazy at work slander, because trust and believe all of the stuff that the boomers and the Gen Xers were so concerned about Gen Z not doing, like Gen Z not working, we're working. We have no time for anything else. Like, you may think that us walking into work with a nice latte or whatever means that we have all the time in the world. I assure you that that is not the case, because we are getting off at the same time as you are. We have the same amount of hours in the day, and everyone is going through it right now.
I'd say for me, the worst aspects of working, of Amazon, of my current job is time. I work morning for my own sanity, but that means that I wake up every single day at 4:15 a.m. That's too early. The sun has not gone outside. Birds are still sleeping and I'm waking up. The shift ends at 2:45 p.m., which is okay. Travel time, I usually get home at about 3:30 p.m. I still technically have the evening for myself, but like, time is the biggest struggle because while I technically have the evening to myself, the job leaves me so physically exhausted and drained.
Many people find themselves in the position of, well, yes, seemingly having time on paper to live outside of work, but oftentimes these jobs that are available to us are absolutely draining and don't account for things like commute time and leave you with virtually no energy to do things except maybe the essential adult things like grocery shopping, cleaning, cooking, chores, etc. Like, why does it feel like we have to choose between being a fully functioning adult or like seeing friends, having hobbies, and engaging in like third spaces?
I don't really get to say we have open enrollment, so it's not really like a zoning thing. It's just whoever like comes, they come. And it's not like, sorry, we got too many kids in this class, like kind of got to deal with 36 being in here. Right. Sorry. And it's just like, okay. And that's really challenging because there's only one of me and there's so many like different kids at the service. Not the kids' fault at all. Love them down. They're super great. But it's a lot to deal with because it's like a constant feeling of being on, right? And like how that works for like my mental health, especially this week. Girl, I've slept on my couch 4 days, all 4 days. Because as soon as I get home, I take my dog out, make sure he's fed, get him some water, take him out one more time. I'm up for maybe like an hour, hour and a half, get to watching the show, I'm out. Suddenly 6 o'clock the next day and I have to go to work again.
And by now, if you've seen any videos on this channel, you already know what's coming next. You already know what I'm gonna say because I say it in every single video. And it's not because I'm beating a dead horse. Although Lord knows when it comes to this, we gonna beat it. But it's because it's genuinely so important and like we just still are struggling to do it well. And that is community. And more so the fact that the current state of work right now is straining community. Like, yes, community and work have coexisted before. That's always been a thing. But because for Gen Z, we are in these entry level and just now getting into maybe some mid-level middle management roles that are all becoming significantly more demanding as these layoffs, as these increases in work expectations are occurring, they're taking up more of our time, making us more constantly consecutively tired, meaning that we don't have time or that it's harder to make time to build, foster, and participate in these acts of community. But of course, you know, we still got to carry on because if we want a village, we got to be on our villager duties and we still got to put in the effort that we want to see in the communities that we want to be a part of. And oftentimes that means showing up even when you are tired. So I can't say that this is the entire reason behind the loneliness epidemic that we're experiencing, but it just adds another barrier to entry, or at least a challenge that we find ourselves facing in these strives to not be isolated and to have a group of people that care about us around us. Overall, it just seems that across the board, but likely more specifically Gen Z, because we're the newest people in the workforce, are feeling just more disillusioned with the job market. So now we got to talk about tech. As a former tech baddie myself, and this might be new lore to some of y'all, I used to work in tech before I started yapping on here. Recently, some tech companies have gotten a little too comfortable, applauding and even some adopting the 996 work week. Now you may be asking, what is that seemingly random bathroom code set of numbers? And the answer may gag you, because it is quite gaggy. 996 is the work week that consists of working from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week. And this goes without saying, if you still have a cushy tech job that's remote with benefits, then I sincerely applaud you. I'm really happy for you. Get that bag and keep that bag. But there are rumblings of this sort of work setup happening, especially at AI startups in Silicon Valley, to try and win the AI race, whatever that means. Experts are calling the 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week culture corporate abuse. Yet America's top business leaders work relentless hours. Apple CEO Tim Cook sends emails as early as 4:30 a.m. Former Yahoo CEO Marissa Mayer reportedly clocked up to 130 hours a week, and Tesla CEO, that punk, is known to work 120 hours a week. Some members of the C-suite expect employees to match their 996 work schedules. Funnily enough, back in 2022, Musk was accused of corporate slavery, perpetuating work abuse and job burnout, while praising Chinese employees of Tesla for burning the 3 a.m. oil. He said Americans are trying to avoid going to work at all. That's a lot, and that's a lot of crazy. I know a lot of that had to do with C-suite, but again, as the back half of that source says, it's not too far before they start going like, well, if we're doing it, they should be doing it too. And obviously this all is egregious, and I'm not saying that we are anywhere near this in this current moment, but as patterns tend to show, tech seems to be a canary in the coal mine for work industries and working conditions. So what happens there tends to trickle down down in different ways into the rest of corporate and into the rest of the working environment. So let's hope for dear luck that this stuff does not stick. But for now, let's put a pin in tech because we're going to revisit her later. We now talk about the AI replacement theory. You may have heard through rumblings online and on the news that AI is coming knocking at your door to try and steal your job. Not if you have anything to do about it. And there's been a lot of talks about the AI replacement theory and rumblings on the internet. And if you haven't heard this term, let's have Google AI overview, which I can't seem to stop from popping up, explain it for us. The AI replacement theory is the widespread concern that artificial intelligence will automate and replace human jobs, leading to mass unemployment and a potential reshaping of society. Some experts believe AI will augment and create new jobs, while others argue that the speed and scope of automation will be unprecedented and pose serious threats to the workforce. We've seen this in the tech sector especially, perhaps for two reasons. The first being it is thought that tech is a sector that kind of leads the way in terms of innovation, or at least trends in the workforce. What happens in tech first can and likely is spread to other sectors and industries.
Here's the wonderful thing about banks and credit unions and financial institutions is most of us, you're going to be like, oh, AI is going to take our jobs or whatever. We're still operating in 1700 BC. Our computers, we don't even all have two monitors. We half of the time our it's broken, our keyboard's up. We have one monitor over here. Oh, this is the monitor. Don't use this one. Oh, that one in the back, that's the backstage that has all the up stuff. We don't even have enough technology to start using AI.
And as for layoffs, they have definitely been a canary in the coal mine, because what we saw in the big wave of layoffs in tech in 2023 and 2024 from tech and digital jobs, including Twitter, Amazon, Salesforce, Klarna, Google, and so many more, all come down and happen in specific ways before we saw them anywhere else. So she being Miss AI, is allegedly coming for us, and that's been a fear. Except interestingly enough, when I asked people what their thoughts were in terms of AI taking their jobs, it didn't seem like a lot of people that I interviewed were actually that concerned.
Placing certain roles and stuff, I'm not entirely sure. It's definitely going to create new dynamics and new expectations for the roles, and maybe unfortunately a few things will be a little bit obsolete, but I don't think it'll be a whole throw the baby out with the bathwater situation where it's okay, my role as a strategist or something has changed slightly. This isn't necessarily labor I cover. Maybe there's something new I end up doing.
And I think it really comes down to the fact that when we're talking about AI replacement, the threat level really does depend on where and how often and the ways in which AI can be incorporated in your job, of whether or not you need to be scared of AI coming to steal your gig. Of course, fields such as software development are extremely vulnerable right now because AI can come and write code at accelerated rates. You also have fields like customer service being heavily affected because more companies are using AI assistants to help with the stuff that customer service would traditionally do. And positions in finance are definitely being hit the hardest. However, jobs that lack the online data needed to be replaced by AI are relatively safe, things like healthcare, because of HIPAA and how scattered patient information is, construction, which is one of the most AI-proof things right now, and education for now, because for now, FERPA and student privacy laws protect it. And right now, what we're seeing with AI implementation, the main roles that are being impacted right now are those middle management roles. It's not as much entry level, and it's definitely not the higher level C-suite. So it kind of fragments a lot of us. And that's kind of where I feel bad for millennials, because they typically are right now in those middle management roles, whereas older millennials, boomers, and Gen Xers are in those higher level roles, and Gen Z, for the most part, is taking up the entry levels, which kind of leads me to my next conversation around layoffs. Because of course, the aforementioned safe careers from AI aren't necessarily safe from other things like funding cuts or general layoffs. Because as we know, and as I've heard from people in interviews, public health is being defunded. And that field and many other fields have other ways of being made vulnerable.
I got that notice already. So like I said, the research budgets does this thing where they internally fund research. And so a lot of the money for the research does come from the institution, and they're cutting down on research budgets, especially with my professor who's in emeritus status. So again, she's not an active researcher who's consistently putting out articles, and money does follow active research that's replicable. And so I got in April, March and April, I was hey, reappointment comes up a little later, am I good? And she was yeah, you're good. We're going to ask you back. Usually anything under 2 years is oh, then why'd you come here? especially because academia works a little bit slower than corporate. And so I was like, okay, good. Like, I'm good to go for next year. And she was like, yeah, you are. And I was like, okay. And then at the end of May, it was like a professional I'm coming to you as a woman type email where it was like, hey, so you should probably start looking around. And I was like, okay. And then they were like, you're going to have a meeting with HR and we're going to bring in the Top Gun. And I was like, oh, okay, so I'm getting fired.
Namely, at the moment are the government job layoffs and hiring freezes going on. With the government defunding industries such as healthcare, the sciences, education, and public media, it's creating a ripple effect.
A lot of these people like lost their jobs. No severance pay, no nothing. I was just like, hey girl, since we're contracts, right? You have to renew it every single year. And it was just like, so you're not getting a contract this year, but we can put you on as like maybe like a para or something, or a secretary if you have like clerical background and things like that. But obviously not everybody has those credentials. And the problem with being a librarian, you have to have a master's degree. So you're demoting me and giving me less pay when I have more education experience. So that was like a really big thing for a while. Plus, as like a campus as a whole, we were losing like staff. So whereas you may have had a lot of people in the hallways, it becomes the teacher's job to kind of sacrifice some of your own class time to kind of monitor what's going on in the hallways. Or rather than having a teacher and a in-support person, it's only just a teacher. And, the in-supports rotate every few blocks, which kind of makes it a little bit more difficult, especially when we're talking about our more behavior-focused kids, our special needs students.
In general, uncertainty to other jobs that receive funding or grants. And regardless of industry, with layoffs comes understaffing. The people who were laid off, whether the powers that be want to admit it or not, had real roles and duties to fulfill that their still employed counterparts will then have to pick up the slack to do. Which, not to play the which is worse Olympics, but that creates a pretty situation for all workers involved.
Yes, I won't go into specific what my program is, but programs like mine, and mine in particular, have cut off programs for after school elementary students and toddlers for lack of funding. We've also lost administrator jobs. And so a lot of times my supervisor had like an assistant in her office. She doesn't have that anymore. So she has to do a lot of the office work. But that is so much work because sometimes someone will walkie-talkie her because they need help with a kid. And then someone will come up to the office, no one's there. But we don't have the funds to have another person anymore. And I was really worried last year because there was a possibility we were losing services for kids. And services that a lot of our kids with bigger behaviors needed. And thankfully we have them for this year, but who knows for next year how that funding will go.
And that kind of brings me to this final point of like, something's gotta give. Like something has to happen to change this because we are all being squeezed out of like the last of our resources right now. We are living in such a weird and uncharted territory right now. AI is advancing and set to take over a lot of tech and digital forward jobs. Employed people are being overworked, underpaid, understaffed. New job postings are going down while the unemployment rate is continuing to rise month after month. And the general job market just is not looking too hot. And I mean, of course, right now, when it comes to what should you do, the common and safe answer has historically been like, oh, go back to school. It seems like right now that degrees aren't doing anything to help either. You have people with master's degrees, PhD degrees, still being unemployed and having to pick up jobs that they are overqualified for.
I have a bachelor's degree, which means I have no opinion in academia.
That's crazy to say. Like, that's crazy that's like the case.
Well, yeah, it's like you got the bare minimum. Because if you think about it, with your bachelor's degree, it was 2 years of gen ed. Mm-hmm. And then you got into like specialized things. It's like, I have a PhD.
Right.
And I've been doing X amount of research on top of that because she did OB, but usually people do a postdoc. So it's after you get your doctorate degree where you then do like another internship type deal. And then you become a professor, assistant professor, and then you're an assistant professor on the tenure track. And then you make tenure. And then you go out and celebrate because you are set for life.
It's quite normal and called for, quite honestly, to feel frustrated and angry with this whole situation because it's not fair. Because as a generation, we were sold a dream. We were sold a way of life that if we did these certain things, we'll be granted or at least would have a shot at. And it has been a long time of us having to wake up repeatedly to whatever nightmare this current reality is. And everyone has their boogeymen and groups to blame for why we're in this position. Again, see my recession video to see potentially a reason behind why we're easier here. But where does this leave us? Is a universal basic income on the horizon since we're all losing our jobs? Probably not. I don't even want to go that route. I don't even know what we're going to do. There is a large wealth disparity being exacerbated right now, and it is becoming harder and harder to keep up and do what we need to do. And the expansions into these working conditions is not making things any better. Whether that be the increase in expectations, the obscurity of the expectations that are put upon us, or just the general feelings of uncertainty with our generation, we are going through it. But I guess the silver lining behind all this is that we aren't necessarily the only ones going through it, because this is happening to everyone across the board. And there really needs to be some kind of change, whether that be legislatively, socially, or professionally, because the way that we're currently on track to go is not going to benefit anyone, but I'd probably say the top 2%, which I don't know, maybe that's the goal.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Emergency and welcome back to my channel. Before we get into anything, I just want to say I did a bad thing, yo. I watched the Hype House Netflix show on Netflix. And don't hate me. Don't hate me. I know. Hold up. I did this for a noble cause. I did this for you, actually. I did this for you. So put the pitchforks down and let's have a little conversation, because I watched the Hype House Netflix show, so you didn't have to. Let's get into it. Y'all saw that transition right there? Y'all saw how I did that? Oof. My mind. Just a quick reminder, if you haven't already and you are new to this channel, then make sure to subscribe and turn on post notifications, because it helps out a lot, as well as leaving a like on this video, because that also does wonders for the algorithm. And if you want to see more of me in my face, you can follow me on my socials here at imuRgency. But let's get into the Hype House, friends, because we have a lot that we need to discuss. Before we actually get into talking about the show itself, I do want to lay a quick ground rule that I will not be personally dragging anyone's individual character in this show like I do for my other show reviews, simply because this, of course, it's reality TV and it's dramatized, but these are real people and these are real people's lives. Does that mean I am not going to hold some people accountable who have been notoriously problematic? No, because there are quite a few of those in this show. But as far as going out of the way to like bully or like expose or like be super negative or nasty, that's not what we're doing here. And I encourage you to do the same. You can hold people accountable, but don't bully them. I wrote a whole paper on it. But without any further dilly-dally, let's get into it. Let's talk about it. The first thing they really want to say and express to this show, for those that have not seen it and those that will never see it, which I assume might be a lot of y'all. I don't know, I couldn't really tell. But in my humble opinion, I feel like this was a show, a series that didn't necessarily need to exist, specifically on the Netflix platform, because I feel like there are a lot of other shows that provide a different level of depth and a different level of plot that have been canceled or moved, whatever, and I completely understand why the Hype House got this show. Like, the numbers are great, they bring in a really huge audience, like I get like the logistics behind it, but in terms of just objective entertainment, I don't know, this wasn't really the medium. Like, honestly, watching through this show, I really think this could have been summarized in like one of those Snapchat shows, like a good old Snapchat moment, like Nikita who's in the show. She had a Snapchat show. I feel like they could have thrown that there, or did like what any other influencer does and do like a little MTV uncut whatever thing on YouTube, because like in terms of like the social media sphere, it is dope to see creators break into like the traditional media sphere in terms of like entertainment, like shows and TV and whatever. It just sucks that the people that got that platform are the Hype House. Because I feel like what they brought to the show wasn't necessarily deserving of like high praise and caliber and tier. And let me tell you why. The entire plot of this season basically revolves around this man issue between Lil Huddy and Thomas, who's like the Hype House manager guy. Mind you, I did not know much about the Hype House before watching this show, but like I was saying, the main conflict is between Lil Huddy, who is butting up and being famous and like getting all these different opportunities to make music and just go mainstream. Then Thomas, who's kind of salty at Lil Huddy for being successful and not really paying his dues back to the Hype House and back to Thomas. And the plot itself is just really weird, because like, why are you not supporting your friends' happiness and their success? Like, why was Lil Huddy painted out to be a victim in this scenario for this specific thing? Like, they keep mentioning how they're kids, and Thomas, the Hype House manager, is like one of the oldest people in the house, so he should understand, like, maybe Lil Huddy doesn't really understand the full gravity of like what he's doing. Of course, it is kind of shady to like blow up and then not really acknowledge who helped you there and like who helped you in the beginning, but at the same time, it didn't seem like there was any genuine bad blood. It just seemed like manufactured plot just for the sake of having like a story arc. Like, literally, it was just filled with 8 episodes of them manufacturing drama and Lil Huddy's series of awkward laughs that for some reason they just left in every single time. And this whole show's plot is just so interesting because it's literally telling the story of something that happened very publicly, but months and months later. Like, they really tried to build up the whole thing, like the hype house is disbanding, like the hype house isn't what it used to be, like we didn't already know that they kind of fell off months ago. Like, and of course, understandable, like maybe this was geared towards an audience that didn't necessarily know all the details, or like they really could have no control over that and we're just trying to like document the end. But like, I feel like they gassed it up to make it seem like something different than what we saw happened was going to happen, and what we expected to happen ended up happening. You're like, oh, well, shit, I already knew that. And at this point, you may be asking like, okay, I get it. There's like hype house beef, but how does that really fill up 8 episodes? Like, there has to be something else that's going on. Like, what else is going on in the show? Well, the other main plot lines that are going on are just showing how traumatized and sad everyone else is in this space. And also tries to demonstrate what it means to be super successful very young and get everything you could ever think of wanting in like the first stage of your life, and then just being immensely bored and like dissatisfied with your life. And I'm like, okay, I am not here to shame anyone for their complaints and life grievances, because I'm a personal believer that everyone hurts, like everybody hurts. It may hurt differently. Like, you may be crying in your mansion as opposed to in your 1-bedroom apartment with your 3 other family members. But I mean, like, tears are still there regardless. And honestly, I feel like their feelings are valid in the sense that like most of them did not come from this, or at least if they portrayed it in the show to make it seem like most of them did not come from this. Like I said, I don't know much about like their backstories or like what's actually going on, but from what they conveyed in the show, like a lot of them came from really troubled backgrounds, and they really harped on that as a way of kind of like explaining their behavior. It kind of danced the line between explaining and excusing a lot of the behavior, just because they brought up their traumas in literally every single conversation that was had in the show. Like, I'm not sure if that was intentional. Like, they were like, we're gonna humanize the fuck out of y'all, so keep talking about everything that makes you sad ever. We're just gonna make y'all look like a big gold conglomerate of really sad kids that everyone will feel bad for and really want to support. Like, that's the vibe it was giving. And I feel like from a mental health perspective, maybe that wasn't the healthiest way to go about it, to convey to a very young audience, because mind you, most of their audience are kids. In the way that they handle their conflicts in the show are basically like, one person would say something snarky, the other person would feel some type of way and then say something snarky back, and then they would break apart and then come back together and then talk about their trauma and trauma bond, and then not really talk about the issue at hand, but mostly just talk about their traumas and why that leads them to be the way they are. And they're like, all right, let's be besties again, without actually talking about the issue at hand, you know? And the people that do this the most in the show are Nikita and Lorraine. The first time with the whole COVID thing, because in the show they have like a COVID scare because Lorraine gets COVID and then goes to a party allegedly and then like gets everyone else sick and blames it on Nikita. And then when they have their whole reunion, again, don't know them or their dynamic, but it just seems like they get together, they say snarky things to each other, which of course I understand like is probably their dynamic, and then they just talk about their trauma, and then that's it. They hug it out. And talking about your trauma is something good to do and like something healthy to do in order to move past it or like learn to like deal with it better. But I feel like the way that they presented it was just like trauma dumping, and some of it being kind of unwarranted and unnecessary. Like, that's not how actual conversations go. And everyone's mental health journey is different, but like in my opinion, I feel like it just didn't seem like super genuine. Like, I just didn't really feel like they were taking accountability for things that are actually going on. And that leads me to the second instance that I feel like was one of the most controversial things in this show that people were talking about, was the conversation between Nikita and Lorraine talking about the elephant in the room, Nikita blackfishing. If you've been on the internet for a while, or even know anything about Nikita Dragon, you know that she has been in very hot water for picking a new race every day and just generally appropriating and blackfishing and all of that without really showing any form of like acknowledgement for like what she's doing or any form of apology. And the way that they framed it in this show is that they had Lorraine come on and confront her, and I'm sure the intention was good, but it really just did feel like a PR stunt. Like, it felt like this was like forced. I don't feel like they got to the root of it. The conversation basically boiled down to Lorraine being like, I'm getting a lot of backlash from the Black community for associating with people who have done really problematic things like blackfishing, and he was telling Nikita that like she needs to like stop doing what she's doing, and like she needs to know that her actions have consequences and are offensive to people. And Nikita's response was more personalized, being like, oh, I'm so sorry that I did that to you, I made you feel that way, like I didn't want to make you feel uncomfortable, like I don't want to offend anyone, without actually, I feel like, giving a genuine apology to the Black community. Like, she addressed it without fully addressing it, if that makes sense. And then they were just like, okay, so cool. And personally, I feel like, well, yes, it's great that we got some form of acknowledgement of this. This isn't like a new revelation. Like, this has been going on for a very long time. And for this conversation to just have happened now, and for Nikita to just be realizing that her actions are harmful now, is kind of, you know, you're like, oh, okay. Like, it took like a whole Netflix show and for this scene to be specifically storyboarded into the general plot of the show for you to actually like acknowledge and like say anything that was kind of decent. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. The show also had a big spotlight on Vinny Hacker, as well as Alex Warren, and just those two navigating the hype house in their own different ways. Like, Vinny was kind of just on his own, just minding his own business, being mad every other episode. And I mean, like, I would be too, living in a house with that many people. But they showed like the impact and like power of like having influence and how that can negatively affect those around you. Like they showed like his stans attacking one of his friends because they like kissed on a video or something, and they showed like the follow to that. But other than that, Vinny was kind of just like there, just like chilling. And Alex is kind of going through it this season. Like, Alex's whole thing in this show was like he's like really trying to create a lot of content and like be a really great creator. And they get into like his family trauma, like his relationship issues and all of that. But through and throughout this whole show, I feel like Alex is the only one that actually made content. Like that entire show, Alex was the only one consistently making content or making content at all. Everyone else was kind of just sitting around and fighting with each other. It was giving like similar vibes to Selling Tampa. If you've seen Selling Tampa, like how they actually did not show them selling a house until very, very late into the game in this show. But other than that, I will say again, this show wasn't very good. Like, it was as good as you'd expect it to be. Like, it wasn't awful, it wasn't terrible, but it was also nothing to like really rave about. But again, yay for creators breaking into mainstream media and entertainment. Just unfortunate that it couldn't have been featuring a set of creators that were less problematic and honestly more diverse. But yeah, that's all I got to say about this show, y'all. But let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Again, if you're new to the channel, then hit that subscribe button and turn on my post notifications so you never miss when I post. If you enjoyed this video, let me know by leaving a like because that helps out this video a lot. And follow me on my socials here at Emergency for more content from me. But other than that, y'all, thank you so much for watching. I've been Emergency, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace. Hey guys, what's up? It's Emergency and welcome back to my channel. Oh my god. Euphoria is back and better than ever. Literally, Season 2, Episode 1. So much happened in this episode. They really promised and delivered. After such a long break, I'm so glad that they're picking up exactly where they left off and coming out with an absolute banger of an episode. Like I said, so much went on in this episode and we're going to break it down right now. But before we do that, if you are new to the channel, then subscribe, turn on post notifications, and leave a like on this video because those all help out this channel so much. Also, if you want to see more from me, you can follow me on my social medias here at imergency. Oh, also one more thing, I have a second channel that I'm starting up for like vlogs and more lifestyle kind of content, so go check that out in the description down below, Rumi Robinson. But yeah, let's talk about Euphoria. So this is gonna be more so of like an episode breakdown with my thoughts on the episode as well as my predictions for how I think that season 2 is going to go based on this episode and some things that have been going on in like different previews and interviews and such. So this is all complete spoilers, so if you have not seen the first episode of season 2 of Euphoria, I recommend you do that before watching this video, or if you have no plans of watching Euphoria, which I don't know why you would, then just watch along. But season 2 started off with a bang. We actually started off with a flashback from Fez's childhood, and I really enjoyed that flashback because I feel like Fez was one of the characters last season that got like the least development in terms of like getting to know who he actually is as a person. So getting to know his childhood, how he and Ashtray really met, as well as getting to know who his grandma was really refreshing. And I really love his grandma. Like the energy she exudes, like the accent that she has, top tier. And overall, it's just really nice to see who the woman in the back of Fez's room on like life support kind of is, or who really she was before she was at that point. Because at first when the show initially aired, I thought that Fez's grandma was just gonna be like a throwaway character, like something that he just said in passing and wouldn't actually be involved in the show. But actually seeing how she was and how she contributed to how he grew up was really nice. And this whole episode I feel like is giving the audience like a big update on like how each of these characters are doing post season 1. This all takes place in like the span of like New Year's Day, so actually really relevant. I liked how they did that with like planning and all of that, because New Year's was literally a couple weeks ago, so you're like, oh my god, Euphoria is here with us, oh my god, this is real. But no, besides Fez, the next character that we get an update on is Rue, and Rue really is not looking too hot. Rue has 100% relapsed back into her substance issues after Jules left her in season 1, and she's hanging out with Fez. They end up getting into a drug bust with one of Fez's associates and this one girl, Faye, who took me out. Like, I made a couple TikToks just reacting to Rue and Faye's conversations. Like, what's going on with Homegirl's lips? What's going on with her lips? She's funny. I love her energy. It's just like the way that Rue tells her that it's New Year's and she's like, oh, my boyfriend doesn't tell me anything. Like, love that energy for her. But I felt like that whole scene of like them getting caught in the drug bust and then having to like strip and then go through that whole drug dealing really just set the tone for the season, showing that things are getting real. Like, things are getting really real for these high schoolers, and that this season is going to really get into it, be really mature, not be afraid to show us anything and everything, because they did a lot of that this season. I saw a lot of things that I didn't know could be shown on television. And many side notes, Zendaya herself even said that season 2 is going to be a lot darker, or what word she said? She said mature in a tweet, and I'm really excited to see how that actually pans out, because I feel like Euphoria season 1 was pretty dark, but the fact that we're going to get even darker and more mature is kind of concerning, because I really don't know how far they're going to take it, for better or for worse. And we'll get more into that when I'm talking about this season's predictions. But I feel like the majority of this episode has to revolve around the messiness, specifically around Cassie and the one we all hate, Nate. I was rewatching Euphoria all this week before this episode actually aired, and it really reminded me how much I hate Nate Jacobs, and this episode just put the nail in the coffin. Like, I despise Nate Jacobs. Like, his whole thing with Cassie, like, Cassie's already drunk and heartbroken, identity crisis, like, doesn't know who she is on her own. And I'm putting the blame mostly on Nate just because he was pursuing her actively and like flirting with her when she was like already drunk. Like, at that time he was sober and she was drunk, but they end up hooking up, and that's so weird. Like, Cassie, why? And also Nate, why? Like, of all the people, I did not expect those two to actually end up getting together. I really don't know why, but I did not see them actually getting together. And it's gonna be so messy now because that's Maddie's ex. That is fully Maddie's ex. And that is also Nate Jacobs. Like, that whole car scene where they were drinking and driving and speeding on that road gave me secondhand anxiety, especially when Cassie stuck her head out that window. Like, it was giving Hereditary tease. Like, I was concerned for Cassie's safety. But then when they ended up doing what they did, I was like, I don't like where this is going. I really don't like where this is going. Because from Nate's perspective and Nate's side, this really seems like he's doing this to like either get back at Maddie or get back at McKay, or even just like try and prove to himself that he's really into women, because after season 1 we know that that's probably not true.
It's not like anyone's 100% straight or 100% gay.
Oh, that is 100% bullshit.
And that's why you like boys.
But it's just like very strange that he'd choose to do this. Like, it's definitely not giving like clear motives. And this was shown even more in that weird scene between McKay and Nate. After McKay talks to Cassie, Nate's like all in his face, asking him some really personal and really gross questions. Like, it's giving like the way he's talking about Cassie makes it sound like Nate wants to do those things to McKay, and or he's like rubbing it in without rubbing it in. Like, it's giving like real manipulator. Like, someone needs to shut Nate down. But thankfully, at the end of this episode, someone did. Daddy Fez. Daddy Fez, shut that shit down. Like, with the crack of a bottle and a couple of punches, little Nathaniel, out like a light. And to that, thank you, Fez. You are the hero of this episode, and maybe even the season, who knows. And I feel like the character that I've not spoken about yet, that is arguably the second most important character, or second most main character in this show, Jules. I feel like Jules was not really in this episode. Like, she was in this episode, but she wasn't in this episode, you know? I feel like compared to all the other characters, she had the least amount of screen time, and really all she did was look into the camera and look good. All she did was surface. Like, that's literally all she did. Like, all the different scenes where she just like literally just serving face with that little eye look, like shade down. But in terms of like lines and like actual substance, not too much. He walks up, looks for Rue, finds out Rue relapsed, and is like, oh my god, you make me sad, and then they kiss. And then that's like it. Which means like, okay, we have a whole season to like develop Jules and Rue. I don't know how they're gonna end up the season, because now they seem like they're okay, but for reasons I will get into in literally just a second, it seems like there's going to be trouble in paradise. And I feel like that's a beautiful transition, because now I really want to get into my predictions for what I think season 2 is going to be like, what's going to happen in season 2 based on the information that's provided and based on vibes that I'm personally feeling. And if I'm right, I'm gonna be happy. Y'all can give your little kudos to me, even though most of it's probably predictable because they're actively telling you. But here are my predictions for what's going to happen with the rest of season 2. So based on what the showrunners said themselves describing season 2, they described season 1 as like a 2 a.m. party, whereas season 2 is more like it's 5 a.m. past the time when you should have gone home. Those kind of vibes where you're like out too late and you're seeing things that you maybe wouldn't have or shouldn't have seen otherwise. And that paired with Zendaya's comment about things being really dark and mature makes it feel like we're going to see some really traumatic stuff. And honestly, pairing those things together, I'm really seeing a lot of internal turmoil, like seeing people's true colors type beat. For that, I'm thinking like really Cassie and Maddie, and maybe even like Rue and Jules, to be honest. Like, I feel like at the end of the season, there's going to be a lot of different dynamics, and I don't feel like everyone's gonna be friends, nor are they going to actually like genuinely like each other. In terms of like specifics though, based on a little preview at the end of episode 1, they showed a couple snippets of like things that are going on for like the rest of the season and for episode 2. And just from gathering that, I feel like the season Rue is going to go through like the absolute worst of her addiction. Like, she's going to hit rock bottom, or even lower, to be honest. And I feel like she might end up on the brink of either that, or her actions because of her addiction or like related to her addiction are going to lead to someone else's. Probably my prediction, hate to say it, it's probably gonna be Fez. Like, I feel it coming. Like, I feel like Fez is being set up and giving that development because he's going to end up being taken out because of Rue's actions, and I feel like because of that, Rue's gonna want to get better. I hope I'm wrong, but that's just like the vibe that I'm getting. Pivoting, I also think unfortunately that Cassie is going to spend most of this season trying to hide around Maddie and trying to like keep up this lie that she didn't hook up with Maddie, and I really hate that for her character. I hope I'm wrong. I'm praying I'm wrong, because I really hate that trope of like the whole like beat around the bush, or like trying to avoid suspicion, or just being guilty, just keeping something over over someone's head. Like, I really hate that trope, especially when it comes to two female characters, because both their characters end up revolving around a single man, and that man being Nate Jacobs at that. Like, no, I want individual development, please. But I know eventually Maddie's going to find out because it's Maddie, and I really feel like she's either going to have a very visceral reaction or she's gonna have no reaction at all, and it's gonna be no in between. It's simply gonna be those two. And jumping back to Fez, I feel like since the focus was on him so much in episode 1, I feel like we're going to be following him a lot more and seeing him have the repercussions of like getting his new client with like the drug lady, as well as facing the repercussions of like beating up Nate Jacobs. I could see him having like a little on the run era, or even just having to like go into hiding because things go wrong. And like I said, I feel like he might croak. Praying that he doesn't, but I see those heavily. And also, mini thing I want to talk about, him and Lexi, Cassie's sister, very interesting segment. At first, I was really like, oh my god, I really hope they're together. And then, two things. One, seeing her reaction after he beat the living crap out of Nate Jacobs. Well, I mean, like, I get it, you don't want to date a violent guy, but it's also Nate Jacobs. But two, I then realized the age gap. Because you see, while Fez hangs around high schoolers a lot, he did drop out a while ago. And according to like the Euphoria wiki, he's like in his 20s. And Lexi's sister is not. She's still in high school. It's like giving 16, 17, which is a little strange. Like that's very strange. So I hope nothing comes of that because it's not giving legal. But let me know what you think about that one. I also think this season that Nate is gonna get outed in some way, shape, or form. It's definitely not gonna be him. He's not gonna be like, you know what, I think I actually like guys. No. I feel like he's gonna be outed by someone. And my one hope is that he does not become a good person after he becomes outed. Like, I hope that his character doesn't change just because he is now part of the LGBTQIA+. Because like that's a dangerous trope. I saw someone make a TikTok about this because it's not a good trope to have someone who's like a toxic man suddenly become good just because he's a little, you know? So I hope if he gets outed that he still keeps like his asshole tendencies and is just a gay or bi asshole. And finally, my last prediction is that Rue is going to get herself in collective side, everybody. A love triangle. Based on the little preview that they showed before, it seems like Rue's gonna get in the love triangle with Jules and whoever that, I forgot that boy's name, the cute boy with the curly hair that was doing drugs with her. I feel like they're gonna get into a love triangle, and I really don't know how that goes because y'all know, if y'all been on my channel before, y'all know how I feel about love triangles. I absolutely hate them because they're so played out. I hope they do something interesting and innovative with it. Imagine if they do like a Gossip Girl and they get into like a throuple, or like they figure it out, or like it's just like a non-issue. Like, I really hope this isn't just like a full season thing because I'm so tired of seeing love triangles. Like, they're played out. We already know how they end. Either no one wins, period. But yeah, I'm really hoping that it doesn't end the way I think it does. But I think that is where I will leave off for this episode, y'all. Let me know your thoughts about what you thought about this episode, this season, what your predictions are down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this content and enjoy this sort of like episode breakdown, I can have this be like a weekly thing where we come in like chat about Euphoria. Let me know about that also in the comments below. Again, if you're new to the channel, then hit that subscribe button and turn on my post notifications, as well as leaving a like on this video, because all of that helps me out so much. So please, we're on the road to 100K, baby. Like, please help me out. If you're not already, make sure to follow me on my socials here at imergency and subscribe to my new channel down in the description below. I think that's all I have to plug. But other than that, y'all, thank you so much for watching. I've been imergency, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.